trying to build something of their own. I just never figured out how to start. Hey Replit, build me a site where people can see my work and make bookings. Turns out the first step didn't have to happen at a desk. It could happen the second an idea hit. Make the colors of the site warm, soft, and a little faded. Add a font like that, a serif with some weight. This is looking really good, but I needed to do a little more. Add a way for clients to book real dates and make payments. And when it was ready, I could make it live. Create your future right from your phone. What will you build today? Download the Replit mobile app.
Yo.
What's up, Rymar? What's up, everybody in the chat? How's it going?
I was waiting for that orchestra to start. For some reason, like that video was getting going and it was like building up the momentum. And then I was just like, da, da, da. And then we come in and I was just waiting for this like
to drop
crescendo, baby. Bring me the orchestra.
I know. Yeah. Something different than our usual banger of a song that we have coming into this.
That's right.
How's it going, dude? How you feeling?
I'm excited. Lots of new stuff happening. Everything's moving Replit speed. We did our first X Space yesterday. Lots of new things. It just seems like every day is just a whirlwind over here. So today we're going to catch everyone up on what's new in Replit, some new, the new mobile app. What else? Hosting,
cheaper deployments,
MCP, like all sorts of stuff.
MCP.
Like what is going on?
Oh my gosh! Like yeah, the amount of stuff that shipped this week, pretty impressive. So I'm sure folks gonna want to catch up on all of that. And then yeah, as you mentioned, we had our first X Spaces yesterday, which is something new for us, and I thought it went really well. I think Nadia was there. We had Ruth join, and we had a really good conversation. I feel like we had like an agenda of 10 items that we wanted to talk about. And then Victor dropped in and started talking about his new launch, his leveraging the MCP server that we're going to also talk about, the Replit MCP server. And we just got into a whole conversation around monetizing your expertise, monetizing your apps, different approaches, different business models, how to do lead magnets. So I thought it was a really good conversation. Nadia dropped some nuggets. Victor dropped some nuggets. The replay for that is available on our Replit X account. Go and check it out. And I think it's something that we want to do more of. There's so much that's happening in the space. There's so much that's happening with our community. Nadia, she just dropped a screenshot of this purchase, the Stripe a notification that she got on a project. And so stuff like that, Victor dropping a new project. So we want to like showcase that and talk more about that. And I feel like the X Spaces are going to be a really nice casual way to just jump in and just talk about all the new news that's happening in the Replit universe.
And you probably said it there. Sorry, we had our first guest enter the studio, and this is like this is a new experience too, because like now we have a space where people can come sit in the studio with us. So yeah, you guys are gonna see again. We talk about doing it live and learning live, and so like we're just gonna do it all here in real time. But yeah, the X Space was super cool yesterday, and I really do think it's going to be a regular part of our cadence because it does let us just kind of casually fire off, go live, start tinkering, talking, exploring, and also bring in folks in from the community. So I do see all the regulars in the chat. So shout out to, you know, I know you mentioned Ruth and Nadia, and I see KG in there. And
Noni.
Jevin is in the house.
Ellie, Brett's become a regular now. Good to see you again, Brett. And he's always dropping some good insights and good questions, Brett. Good to have you here again.
Manuel in here shouting everyone out. So yeah, we got Kelly. I see Spell Strike in the house. What's up, everyone? How's everyone doing? Okay, so Manny, take us through. What do we want to do? The you want to get it kicked off, or how you want to do this?
Yeah, let's jump into this week in Replit. So much to cover, folks. Would love to hear your comments, your questions. Drop them in the chat. Again, we're taking all of your suggestions, bugs, what you like, what you don't like. We're packaging that up and we're sending it over to the product team. So when you provide us that feedback, it goes a long way in helping us improve a lot of the stuff and lets us know what you're excited about as well. So with that, let's jump into this week in Replit. Big week. And of course, we've got to jump off with our, let me see here. Get this here. Okay. Big week in Replit. Of course, we have to jump off with our new mobile app experience dropped earlier this week. Now you can build on the go, start building whenever that idea, whenever that inspiration strikes you. Talk to your agent, swipe between chat, tasks, and previews, and also get some really cool live updates on your build. So if you kick something off in the desktop app, then you get notifications on your phone. You can add new tasks. Really, really cool. I know a lot of you folks spend a lot of time on our mobile app. And later on today, we're going to have the design team that's responsible for the redesign of the mobile app, Vic and Zade, on the show to walk us through their thinking and the evolution of the mobile app and why we decided to do this redesign. So super excited about that. How are you feeling about this, Ryan? Are you a big mobile app user?
I am in lots of different instances, and I try not to like check my projects while I'm out on the road. We talked about like don't drive and vibe at the yesterday on the space. So but the mobile app's super good to be able to check in on the fly, be on the road, give the agent a prompt on the go, check in on progress. Yeah, I don't know. It's super cool. And there was it'll be interesting to talk about the story of the mobile app because there's it's been like some ups and downs. So I'm very interested to dive into the process. We talk a lot about building and pushing things to the app store. So like what's that look like at higher levels of scale?
Right.
And so we will dive into that process because I know a lot of people are super excited about publishing and pushing to Apple, et cetera, things like that. So
Yeah, for me, I oftentimes have a new idea for a new feature or an improvement that I have that I want for an existing app. So to be able to pull up the mobile app, go into Yap mode or Talk mode, and drop it into a new task and drop a whole bunch of those tasks and see those tasks and those plans in my desktop app. That's like how I'm using it. So like whenever I
yeah.
have an idea, like boom, right away I capture it and I continue on my walk or whatever it is that I'm doing.
Yeah, it's just another tool in the arsenal. We talk about Replit becoming this super powerful, like creative companion. That's just always the first place you should go to think about, like, how do I express this idea or how do I bring this to life? Now you can do that on the road, on the fly, exactly like Manny said. Instead of opening up Notion or Evernote to take your note, literally just open up the agent, send out your yap, right? Drop your little voice chat or whatever. By the time you get home, you've got a plan or a prototype or the first version of whatever it is, rather than having to then dissect that and do the work at home. So yeah, very cool quiver to have in the creative arsenal there.
Talking about tools in your quiver, we also have made deployments a lot cheaper, up to 50% and 80% in some cases. So now it's much cheaper to deploy your apps in Replit. Replit's always been a great place to do both the building of your app and also the deployment. In many other workflows, you oftentimes have to do that in two separate places. You vibe code your application somewhere, and then you have to deploy it elsewhere. That could be a hassle. That could be tough, especially for new builders. And now Replit is just making it much cheaper for you to deploy those applications. We're gonna have Alex on the show a little bit later today to talk about all the details here, the thinking behind this big price cut. But I know a lot of you are super excited about this. Replit's always been a great place for you to deploy your app, and now we're making it much more cheaper and affordable for you to keep your app on Replit. So pumped about this.
Yeah, and if you didn't see it, we're sharing the tweet from Amjad, who actually shows the price breakdown, and you can see that auto scale per million compute units is down like almost 80% of the actual cost. And his post was saying we've achieved enough scale to command superior prices from cloud providers. So today we're passing much of the savings to our customers and making Replit hosting one of the most affordable cloud hosting providers in the world, which I think is a like just a power move to be able to say, hey, we're realizing the savings. Our goal here is to help you build stuff, not necessarily just collect rent on your digital products. And so yeah, passing that on, I think it's a huge savings. It's a big like, hey, come build here signal, I think. So big bull signal for Replit in my mind.
I saw a lot of great commentary on socials around this. Like somebody posted, like, great to see a company that's passing on savings to their end users. I'm like, yeah, exactly. Yeah. As we scale out our infrastructure, make things much more efficient, we want to pass that on to you. So, like you said, Raimar, power move, and our users are super excited about it. I'm excited about it. I'm, a little extra weekend funds, to play with.
Yeah, right on. Okay.
Awesome. Also, our new unified toolbar dropped earlier this week as well. Everything that your project needs now got a lot easier to find. So, cool things like checking in on your database, authentications, domains, secrets, your growth metrics, your SEO, all much easier to find in this unified toolbar. I think one of the cool things about Replit is just how much you get with Replit. A lot of great tools, and sometimes that's been a little bit hard to find. Like, where do I find this particular tool? So it's really nice that we're bringing all of this in one place so you can quickly go and find what you're looking for and get the most out of Replit. And it's not like in your face, like as you're building, like you want to focus on the preview and working with agent, but as you deploy and you want to check out your SEO ratings, or you want to check your analytics, or you want to check your database, then it's easy for you to find in this new unified toolbar. So just making it a little bit easier for you to build and scale.
Yep. Yeah, it's a great addition. I love having all the tools right there in one little list. For those of you who, are used to the tab experience, it's a nice natural transition, and it helps new folks who are on the platform not have to go hunting for a lot of those things, and just figure out, like, there's a lot of, like you said, there's a lot of resources back there, website monitoring, the SEO agent, the growth pane, like there's a lot of different things in there that, I think are useful, that it's good to just have on hand, one click away. So.
Yes, and also this flew a little bit under the radar, but one of our community members had a great launch yesterday around leveraging the Replit MCP in his custom application. And so just wanted to surface to everybody that the Replit MCP is now in beta. A little bit of context here. So an MCP is a way for you to talk to an agent. So now you can leverage Replit agent from wherever it is that you're building. So whether you're in Cloud Code or ChatGPT, you can call an agent to start a build or to update a particular project. And now we're also making that same functionality available to you in your own custom applications. So the thing that Victor launched is this wizard of sorts that walks you through a process, asks you a bunch of questions, and then we'll send a prompt to Replit agent to build out that application and start modifying that application as well based on the feedback that you're getting on that top layer, leveraging the Replit MCP. This is now in beta, but it's available to anyone. So you can go head over to our docs, check it out, and start building it into your applications. This was a big hit on the X Spaces yesterday. Reimar got a huge pop. There's a lot of interest here. So we're looking for feedback from early users. So as you build with the Replit MCP, please let us know. We're going to pass it on to the product team, and more news on this coming up. So stay tuned.
Yeah, that was interesting for me to see, because what was it? Victor was talking about how he had got early access to this MCP thing, and he was building on it. And then people were like, "Oh, it's out there," and we were like, "I don't know if it's out there. Maybe you shouldn't." And then literally, breaking news in real time, had just posted like a couple hours before that saying, "Hey, this MCP is available now." So anyway, go explore that. Go check out that space. It was a good conversation, and yeah, it just seems like the speed at which we're shipping at here at Replit is a little crazy, and it's going to be cool to jump into some of these new launches. We do have our guests are both in studio, Manny. So yeah, we've got for the first time broadcasting live from Foster City.
Well, you're saying we're making some updates and improvements in real time to the production here, right, Reimar? You got like the nice overlays, you got the lower thirds. We have in studio guests now. So you're seeing us build this out in real time.
Yeah, and it's cool. So you guys like do we just jump to that scene? Do we jump to this? Is it too early for this?
Let me just close let me close out one more thing here.
One more thing.
Yeah, we got just one more.
I'm just eager to just get the show going. We got to show up the whole game. Sorry.
Yeah,
all right.
Our guests
Chill
are
out,
like,
Reimar,
hey,
relax.
Wrap it up. Like they got staff in the background saying, "You got 15 minutes. You got 15 minutes. Get them on now."
Michaeli's coming over like, "You got our engineers over here."
I know, right? Michaela's pulling the plug. All right, yeah. Last thing, couple quick hits that I think people should know about. Now, Firecrawl is an official connector on Replit. Firecrawl allows you to scrape sites and pull that context into your application. This is a really cool service. I'm a big fan. And now when you connect through Replit, you get 10,000 credits for Firecrawl. So definitely take advantage of that. We also now have a deeper Slack integration. So a couple of weeks back, we announced our Slack integration that allows you to call Replit from a Slack thread. So you could push a prompt to Replit agent, but now that same integration allows you to pull all of the context from your Slack and bring that into your custom applications. This is a huge deal. So now you can grab messages, files, channels, people, threads, all of that context that's living in Slack, and do something interesting with that in your Replit application. So definitely go check that out and put that to work. Last thing that I wanted to mention here is that we have a little bit more flexibility on our Pro plan. So now you can cycle between different plans, different billing cadences to just make it a little bit easier to match whatever speed you're building on Replit. So just one more thing that I wanted to mention for folks in case you wanted a little bit more flexibility there. So as you mentioned, Rymar, we got Vic and Zade backstage ready to go to talk about the new mobile app experience. And then a little bit later on, we're going to have Alex on the show to talk about how we're going to be saving you a ton of cash on your deployments. So with that, let's bring Vic and Zade on the show.
All right, let's do this. First time from the studio. How's everybody doing?
What an upgrade since Agent 4 launch. We were just at a table. And now we have this whole studio.
Now we have a table and lights.
No, it's I have to say really quickly, this is so surreal because I remember first starting Replit and user interviewing you, Rymar, and you had like an excellent podcast like background, and it's crazy being in like the same room in a studio with you now.
It's so funny because I totally forgot that we had that experience until I thought about that the other day too. I was like, oh, I did like a product interview. I remember when we were doing like some dog fooding stuff.
You were one of the best. I was like, wow, this is really good feedback.
You brought that production here.
Yeah. We were like, yeah, how do we get that in-house, Rymar? Bring it over to us.
I feel like I'm blushing a little bit.
Well, Vic, Zade, welcome. And again, for everybody's context, Vic and Zade are part of our product design team and are behind the new redesign. So Vic, I think it'd be interesting to give us a little bit of context on how Replit started with making vibe coding accessible on the go. I think we were pretty early on here, one of the first mobile apps out there that allows you to build on the go. So maybe talk about that beginning and the evolution and how we're thinking about this redesign and like what's the impetus behind the redesign and what we're seeing people building.
Yeah, absolutely. I know Amjad tweeted this too, but I believe we were one of the first to really bring coding on a accessible mobile platform. We first launched our Replit mobile app on December 2022. This was way before the ChatGPT like AI sort of craze, and we were one of the first to be able to take super complex technical workflows straight from a mobile app. Even today, you can actually take actions like go to your terminal and do shell commands and things like that, and it's really cool even for technical people. And we started out there, and with the evolution of Replit itself and moving towards becoming a platform that's super accessible for everyone, we wanted to make sure that the mobile app did the same. And I really want to highlight Zade over here, who was the first designer to bring Agent and all the AI features onto the mobile platform. And then this past few months, we've been collaborating together to make sure that's even more accessible for everyone.
It was soon after we started, they were like, hey, we need to bring Agent to the mobile app because it was just primarily built for coding on your phone. And I remember this being like my first big launch after I started at Replit, and it was like
no pressure.
Company priority number one, like mobile launch. And I've just been, since that launch, I've been wanting to get back to mobile more. And so being able to, Replit has grown so much since then. We have parallelism, multi-artifacts, teamwork, all these things. And that old design, I think, worked for its era, but it was really cool to see it through and bring a new information architecture to the app. And it was really fun working with Vic and the team. And I feel like we had a whole army behind us. We had Brand helping us. We had like a lot more on the mobile team.
All of you guys,
helping
team.
promo. It's been really fun.
That's awesome. So you join Replit, and the first thing they have you do is pretty much invent the mobile vibe coding experience. Like no pressure there.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, let me look up inspiration online. None of that. None of that.
Right. And then also what's interesting as well is that how much, to your point, how much Replit has changed because one, we have so much more functionality, so much more that we allow people to do on the desktop app, so much
Mhm.
more horsepower there. But then also the type of person that's building on Replit has changed as well. I would imagine that earlier on it was much more technical, folks that wanted to get into the coding, get more into like the tougher tasks on the
Mhm.
mobile app. But now you have folks that are non-technical that just want to build with agent and streamline things. So maybe talk a little bit about that. Like you're thinking like how you're accommodating both of those channels, like the additional horsepower that we're getting with Replit, but also the change in the user that's building with Replit.
Right. Right. Well, one thing I want to add there is not only is Replit now super accessible to everyone, it the mobile app itself has a far bigger reach, and the type of users that come onto mobile is much more diverse than when it comes to web. And if you think about it, almost every single person at this point has a mobile phone that they can use, and we're available on both iOS and Android. And so even globally, the reach of mobile users is super cool and super diverse. So starting from there, uh, yeah, I think I can kind of ground the story in a user interview I did last week. I was talking to a user. They were based in, without sharing too much, but they were based in a small town in Ontario in Canada, and had never coded before in their lives, and discovered the Replit mobile app through ChatGPT. And the thing I love hearing the most is when I say, "Hey, do you use the web experience?" And they say, "You have a web
Oh
experience?"
my gosh.
It's a
And
dream
these
user,
people
yeah.
don't even have a laptop. And the thing I love, me and Zayd always laugh about is every single time we do an interview with a mobile user, they're always on their mobile phone,
Yeah.
which is which
Their
is
video
fair.
is
Yeah.
vertical, and you're like, this is a power user,
I
right?
genuinely don't think I've ever talked to someone
Yeah.
calling in from their web
Yeah, I mean, if
laptop.
you can build apps on your phone, why you can join a call on your phone,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And so many people are do so much work from their phone, like more than we realize, right? So I think that's been really rewarding and fun in this journey to be able to bring this type of experience to those
It's got to
kind
be
of
a real
folks.
challenge to package up because I mean, if you look at like the desktop experience of Replit, there's so much. We just talked about the new tool pane and putting all these
Yes.
things, kind of organizing them, and then you have the chat window, and then you have the
Yeah.
sidebar, and all these different things. And so, like bundling all that up into like a thing that you can do on your device with ease that people
Yeah.
like actually enjoy using seems like just a crazy like task.
Mhm.
Like where do you even start thinking about that? And you think about like we are in such a mobile forward, mobile first moment
Mhm.
in time
Mhm.
that like it's like a necessary thing. And so I don't even think about that because I'm on my desktop all the time. But there's a whole world of people that don't have a laptop, aren't sitting in front of their
Yeah.
screen. They just kind of live out in the world and they're still building and doing this stuff.
Mhm.
How do you like I don't even know what the question is there, but it's just like this such a big thing to try to do. And it's
Yeah.
like, and it's there. Like you can
Yeah.
do it and it's good, right? It's like usable. It's not like this like terrible experience,
Yeah.
right? So like kudos to you, I think really is what I'm trying to say. But where do you even start like approaching that? I
Great
don't know
question.
from a design standpoint, from a
Yeah.
product standpoint, like who wants to jump in there? Because
Yeah,
it's a lot.
I can jump in. It helps drive a lot of our decisions on mobile, I would say. The constraints you have building on mobile lead to coming up with some innovative ways to show what we have at Replit and can actually have a downstream effect on how we build desktop. I would say we really focus on critical paths for mobile users, what those are, what you need to do on your phone, what you need to get done. Can you do it with one hand and just a few clicks? And kind of like almost like blowing up the interface outside of just the screen. And like if we flatten this out on a flat surface, like on a table, how how would we lay this out, and how would you navigate through just like the little viewport of your phone, and if you move things around? And there was so much debate on whether things are sheets or new pages or swiping across, and what makes like there's a fine line between uh, technically correct based on the IA of an app, like the information architecture of an app, and also designing like what makes sense for the user. You know, if something pops up above or navigates you to a new page, is that too jarring? Does that clearly, like, we have tasks now open up in a sheet above your main surface, and I think that on desktop we kind of give it that big glow and it has a shadow above, and we can kind of achieve that same effect. But yeah, it's a lot of testing internally in the office with users. It was all pretty much designed on a Replit prototype. I was building the mobile
Yeah.
prototype on Replit and
Yeah.
just clicking around and sending the link out to people in the office. And hey, if this was the mobile app, how would it feel? And our engineers brought that to life in a beautiful way. But yeah.
Yeah, and we're pulling up the app here so folks can maybe see. We won't be able to zoom in too much because we're screen sharing directly from like the live app. So, we're limited on what we can
Yeah.
show. But we did want to show like a little bit of, the experience as we're just chatting about it. Is there a challenge or something that, like was there a big moment that you unlocked and you're just like, oh, this is the direction, or like collapse these things, or just do this and run that way, like.
I mean, I'll let you speak to the big moment around I think the swipeable tabs was a big moment. But maybe as a precursor to that, just to also contextualize what it was like working with the team on this. Our mobile engineering team, every single person, I would say, that's part of this team that worked on this, whether that's a mobile engineer or product manager or designer, has very strong taste in mobile design.
We're very lucky.
We're very lucky, and we work with, and of course, people know our product lead, Jordan, is founder of React and React Native. The devil's in all the details. Every single sort of transition and animation, and whether it's moving from a tab to another tab or opening up a bottom sheet, as much as it looks like, all the seamlessness to the user took so much effort on both the design and engineering end to make sure there's not a lot of latency and everything is smooth and such. And so that was super challenging, but also really fun. I think Zade has gone through hundreds of explorations, I would say, in all of this. And not only Zade, all of our engineers too, we would riff on your prototypes and remix and come up with things on our own too. But yeah, do you want to speak to the tab swipes a little bit?
Yeah, Replit was also such a key part of developing this, like what Vic touched on at the end. There's a prototype we have and people are remixing on it, or just giving their own spin, and you need those other opinions on how things should be laid out. And yeah, I would say the swipeable tabs was a really fun addition, and once we had it, we kind of just stuck with it. I also think that action bar on the bottom is cool. It's kind of like it rounds to the bottom of your phone and it fades out, because we have to communicate. If you like click all the way on the bottom of your phone, you go to like the multitasking thing. So that was a fun problem to solve, and you can swipe up on the chat input to view all your artifacts, and there's a lot of really cool stuff in there, and it might be a bit to realize at first, but once you know how to navigate, it does feel like a pro tool, and I think our team has done that really well.
So I also think when we added the appropriate haptics
haptics are fun.
Certain moments, that's been really fun. I think
what did you add? What was it?
Haptics.
Oh, haptics.
So if you, I don't know if you have it enabled on your phone, or who's screen sharing right now, but you probably feel it when you swipe up and go through different tabs. Yeah.
You get like a little feedback from the phone.
Yes,
that's
and
really
I
nice.
love how 4D, like, mobile design feels. It's so much more than just a flat screen.
Yeah, and to also go off of what Vic was saying, our team is so focus on the details as well, that we don't feel crazy as like product minded or design minded people sweating over these like small things where haptics should be, what the color of a stroke should be. It's like our team appreciates that too, and they're bringing up issues as much as we are. So, and also personally, what was really cool, we did a sprint in New York with some of the team, and it was fun to work with the engineers, and I was able to set up my environment and ship some mobile code, which was cool. It's there's a lot more steps than just working on web, but it was really fun, and I have a lot of respect for our engineers and stuff. Like, so it was really fun.
I really love how you make the things that I love about the desktop app very easy to get to here. So tasks, for example, that to me has been a challenge as well, managing all these different tasks. Actually, I think it might be easier to manage these tasks here from my mobile app. So going here, like immediately going to a task and then just going into Yap mode and saying like, fix
we should have called it Yap mode.
Yeah, we need like a Yap. God, what am I thinking? A mascot. We need like a little.
Right.
Yeah.
Speaking to that, Manny,
A Yap
actually,
Scott?
I think one of the principles we had from the product side was everything should be able to be done with one hand. So you might not notice it actually, but you can accomplish every single action that you need to get to with just one hand on the mobile experience.
And with my weaker hand too, my left hand.
There you go. Meant for streaming, you know.
Yeah. No, this is awesome. No, it's really good.
And what I touched on in the beginning of how this can influence desktop, we recently rolled out a new layout to the way tasks are shown on desktop on the left sidebar. And that was pretty much landed on what was efficient here to do on mobile. And it's cool. I mean, what you're really juggling here is multiple like branches of your app, like duplicate environments that are all executing independently, and you're launching them and viewing them and merging them back if you want. It's crazy. Sometimes you got to zoom out and just, I mean, what our team has been able to build is pretty cool.
Yeah. I don't even know where to start because I'm thinking about like the apps that I've built or the things that I've seen people build, and there's just not even close. So I think a lot of our audience is not like even kind of contemplating the complexity of how big Replit is as a piece of software and how you package pieces of that up in interesting ways. I think like a lot of our users, a lot of people who are watching are, you know, they're like thinking about building their little personal tool or how they use Replit. And so I think there's like this, I know for me there was, when you make this jump from like building things for small businesses or for yourself or, you know, at a smaller scale, and then you step into this other scale. And so there's this like difference in thinking. How do you guys make that jump? What do you think about? Like, what are some like if somebody's watching this and they're thinking about like, I want to take some of their thinking about how like Replit's packaging up complexity into a mobile app and maybe put it into my project. Is there a thing that you can help them think through, or like as you approach this as a product manager, as a designer, like what should they be thinking about as they're coming to Replit and building their mobile app inside of our mobile app? Like it's like this inception process.
Yeah.
That is a lot of inception.
I mean, yeah, designing Replit on Replit too is you get that feeling, but I don't know if you had any notes.
Oh, I was just gonna say, to your point about not even needing to think about the complexity, I think a good analogy is we can now just buy a house without thinking about how the plumbing works. Like very similarly, I think we build apps and solve problems these days without needing to think so much about the complexity behind how that was implemented in the code.
Yeah.
So I think the first advice I would have is, if you in a world where coding is free and it's extremely easy and it's solved, like what are the decisions that actually matter and that you want to make sure the user has responsibility and like ownership over? And to us, of course, it's certain decisions about, you know, how your app looks and feels and how you want certain things to behave, and you know, but if you're making I can't think of good examples right now, but if you're making an app to analyze the weather, you know, what is it that actually that you want the user to be engulfed in terms of the experience. And maybe it's truly like the camera and how that looks, and when you're taking the photo and everything else in terms of like the analysis of how you analyze the weather is all, you know, shielded behind AI and all the innovation there, as an example.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think Vic did a good job of always routing us back to these like critical paths that we wanted users to take. And I think that's a good thing to identify with whatever product you're building. What are these journeys we want user to take? And I would just say rigorously prototype against those and see what layout you can get that achieves that best. And then whether that's like a lightweight prototype or you're just like you're not delving too much in the visuals, once you have that locked down, things are always going to change once you really start implementation and you realize some drawbacks that you might have. But as long as you have that foundation that you're starting with, um, then like things definitely changed from the last Replit prototype I had to what we see today.
Mm.
But I would say the bones are there and the layout is there, and things that changed just were implementation details. And if you can start with that and you have identified your critical paths and you keep pitting decisions against them, then you'll stay on track and you'll build a good experience.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Also, expect feedback too if you're launching this to real users.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, it was a scary, I think, especially the mobile app, because it's been around since 2022, and we have a big following of users there that have followed us ever since our you know, more focused towards agents and such. And so we were scared to remove some of the more, you know, technical workflows. And we were ready to hear feedback, and we do hear a lot of feedback there. And I guess just know that, you know, even for us, we know we might not get it right immediately, but we're always ready to iterate and
Yeah.
improve. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about some of the things that might be better to do on the mobile app rather than on the desktop app? Like, are you thinking about
Oh.
adding functionality that you can only get on the go experience?
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, functionality that exists maybe only on mobile, I would say, is live activities, and they can speak to this a little bit more. But if you have live activities enabled on iOS, uh, whether or not you're building on mobile or web, you'll always get those activities showing up on your phone. And that's great, especially if you're someone, you know, I'm like bouncing between meeting rooms for like 5 hours a day, and so a lot of the times, before I'll like go into a meeting, I'll shoot off a prompt to make sure that something gets built, and you can check on the status. And really any functionality around making sure you can monitor and observe what's happening within Replit. I think mobile will be the first place for that. Yeah, anything to add, you would say?
Yeah, for me, that's a great one, and I also came to mind. I also think a step further than that is when if you're a task user and you're juggling a lot of tasks,
Mm,
just being able to swipe over and see all your tasks and take quick actions from there, approve, you know, or click in and send a follow up. It feels a bit less heavy because on desktop, when you launch up a task, you're launching up the whole environment and you see the preview on the right, and it feels like and we could do that better, and
yeah.
I think we're working on that. But there's something about the mobile experience when you go in and out of tasks. You're just looking at the chat, and it makes things feel a lot quicker, and it's an easy way to just approve and merge and do all these things. Like yeah, like if there's a suggested task you like, you can kick those off if you
Mm,
want to go into a draft. It kind of feels like you're orchestrating this a bunch of different workflows, and I think that's what feels really really cool to me. Um,
It feels
and
so
yeah,
snappy. Like,
yeah,
even, like, jumping in between different projects,
mhm,
like just coming in here really fast. I feel like I can do this faster here on the mobile app than I would on the desktop app. So
Yeah.
like boom, like this project, I want to add a new task, go and start that,
Mhm.
swipe to the left, then I come to this project, start
Mhm.
a new task. How
Yeah.
about things like the canvas? Is that like I would imagine like the canvas and like showing stuff like that would be a little bit tough on the mobile. How do we think about that?
That is certainly tough on mobile. I think I've been thinking about it as, and this is a little bit of a sneak peek as to what we're thinking about next, which is still across any, vibe coding mobile apps. There's no app that does like design and like editing visuals more deterministically correctly. It's much harder, on web. You have your cursor, you can like double click into things, we can pop open the visual editor for you and you can edit things in line. But on mobile there's a question around, okay, like what does that look like? Do we have to do in order to solve that need, does it have to be the same pattern? Can we think about something else? Like maybe you can we bring in more voice features, and you can be looking at your design and speaking the changes to the agent. So the entire idea around like making design and editing those things easier on mobile, I think will be sort of our next challenge that we're thinking about.
Mhm.
This has got to be fun on the iPad. Any
Yes, actually, Manny, that's a great point. We actually have a
Oh.
handful of iPad users using Canvas on the iPad. So I think that'll separately be yeah, an interesting
I'm
thing.
dreaming about the day that I can open the iPad
Uh-huh.
like I would, because I draw and doodle and I play in like Procreate and some like sketch stuff.
Mm,
So I could imagine I open Replit, I just start doodling my wireframes, and just like I would on the fly with the app mode,
mhm.
like those wireframes start becoming software. Like by the time I get home from my
Yeah.
little sketch session at lunch, I got, the prototype is kind of built out, like so I just see these workflows evolving and fitting into like this
Uh-huh.
mobile world, this on the
Mhm.
move, this
Mhm.
like,
Mhm.
like this new digital creator space where it's like it almost feels like we're building a blend here of like what a social network is. And I mean that from like a digital infrastructure, technological distribution type thing.
Mhm.
And then this like Adobe Creative Suite type thing where it's like
Mhm.
you have this infinite creative power blended with this like infinite distribution power. And somehow, if you as a wizard learn to like mix this
Yeah.
like recipe
Yeah.
up, you could go and do anything. You could make as much money as you want. You could like literally unlock whatever piece of the
Mhm.
world. And I think it's this like
Totally.
the first time those kind of things have been packaged up like this, where the average person could just get on their phone or get on their
Mhm.
device or whatever and just build and open these
Mhm.
doors. So I don't know, like to me that's what's interesting to me is like this new frontier that we're kind of pioneering here.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, and Vic touched on it. The mobile users are just cool, and they build cool stuff, and they have cool workflows, and it's really cool to be able to work on a platform for them. And like you said, there's no reason to standardize how everyone is supposed to interact with agents and build things. People all work and think in different ways. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
really exciting to work on.
I think it's also fun to think. Manny,
Oh, I got
that's
some
that's
bling
great.
here. Let's
What-
go. I did a simple app where like you do a selfie and you draw,
Mm.
you draw something on you and you like it renders it in AI and look,
Oh,
it drew
wow.
like a little
Oh,
bling here. Like,
Wow.
okay.
There you
you
go.
always have the coolest app ideas.
You-
Yeah,
I'm
like,
thinking like Flavor
try on
Flav,
the
you need the
bling
big
there.
clock.
Oh, the
Mhm.
big clock. Yeah. All right, let's do that. That's so cool. And you saw me zipping around. Like I fixed that in real time. I'm
Mhm.
zipping around different projects here. I'm going here. I'm able to go in my canvas. I have all my artifacts here,
Mm.
my designs right into canvas. This is so much fun. Anything else to tease on the roadmap that people should be looking out for?
Oh, oh, I
Put him on the spot. Alpha Friday. Give us the drop.
I mean,
Nobody's
there's
watching this, by the
certainly
way.
a lot of things on the roadmap, but I'm trying to think about what I can tease. And well, okay, I think definitively I want to make sure that we spend some time to make sure we address the feedback and talk to users, see what's working, see what's not working, what do we need to improve there. The and very tangibly, because we've now made the interface so smooth and buttery and very easy to navigate, I think there's more of a user expectation that things are fast. And we want to match that from the infra side as well. And so I think that will be in the very near term also focused to make sure that we can actually match that speed and there's not a lot of latency there. In terms of future larger feature roadmap items, I think just expect a lot more. That's so vague. But expect a lot more. It's gonna become even easier to do all kinds of work on mobile. I know we're building apps right now and spending a lot of time on working on apps specifically, but yeah, I think expect to be able to do a lot more on mobile as well. Yeah, I think that's as much as I can tease at this moment,
They're
unfortunately.
saying your obligation to spill the beans on Apple Friday supersedes
Apple
your
Fridays,
NDA.
I
Yeah,
think that was a disclosure before you came on.
Yeah,
They can
yeah.
say, open the
There is
kimono.
there is also a fun, purely aesthetic thing that is coming, and we're just excited for that for mobile only. So
That's a good one.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
just keep an eye out.
Yeah.
This is awesome. Keep the feedback coming, everybody. I guess the best place to drop feedback is on socials, like on X,
Yeah.
and maybe tag both of you.
Mhm.
Also on the Discord, please let us know
Mm.
your experience. What do you want to see different? I love this. Can I just tell you that this is the main reason why I upgraded my iPhone recently? I was a Mac Mini 13 user. I love the smaller phone.
Yeah.
Mhm.
In my pocket is easier. But as I started using the mobile app more, I just needed more screen, so I had to upgrade my setup here. So
That's
you're the
Nice.
number one reason
hilarious.
for that upgrade.
Nice. And shout out to the team too. We
Yeah.
have Ian and Lima and Bo and Armand and Milosh and Jordan and I don't know if
Yeah.
everyone, but we have an awesome team.
I think
Yeah.
part of my what has me so excited about having a space like this and being able to do these kind of things is to bring those folks in, to bring you all in, to have a better venue to like introduce what's happening behind the scenes a little bit to the community, because they're so invested and people are so interested in kind of what's going on and this whole like build in public trend. And so like
Yeah.
I think we've done a lot of that. Like we talk about this all the time with like the build-a-thon platform
Mhm.
that we built to do the build-a-thons. Like most companies that were going to run a hackathon at that scale would just like outsource that and like go rent the software from somebody where we're like, we
Mhm.
built it here, and so like we kind of do these things where we're like kind of dog fooding at this like whole other scale. And I think it's fun bringing folks in and letting them see and meet and like get into the thought process. And I think it helps us build trust generally, like as we show this and as like you reveal the personalities and the thought process behind the product becomes so much more like real, and like the decisions and why things work that
Yeah.
way. So I think it's a big piece of it. And I don't know how this like evolves into meeting the product, because like the product moves so fast.
Yeah.
And like a lot of times media takes a lot of time, right? Like you got to produce the marketing video and get the
Yeah,
assets and do the
yeah.
things. And so like our goal is
Totally.
like accelerate and meet the product with the media where it is. And I think part of that is doing, this kind of thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think we appreciate it so much as
Yeah.
well. Any opportunity to be able to connect to the end users and the community is incredible, and you guys make that super, super easy. So we really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for the good questions.
Yeah.
Awesome. Definitely
Oh.
follow Zade and Vic on socials. We've been putting up their handles here. Yeah, they're dropping cool insights. You're both building amazing things, and we've got some really, let's just say, interesting launches that are coming up in the next couple of weeks where you're
Yes.
going to really want to follow them. So I would say just drop like enable notifications on both of their accounts. You're going to want to stay.
Oh my goodness.
Just do that right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not really follow, but like yes, hit the little bell button on their X account.
Oh,
All right.
Well,
So should we are we gonna scene swap here?
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I
let's
think so.
let's go back to let's say bye to our guest here, Zay.
Thanks.
Bye.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks
you so much for
everyone.
your work.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yo.
All right.
All right. Yeah,
That
that
was
was a great little segment, huh?
Yeah, I think you're right, Ryan. I mean, I think the cool thing is like we launched something really awesome, like the new mobile app, and then we get folks that actually built it to come and give us the context, the background, their thinking. Because some of the way that they're thinking about the redesign, a lot of our builders are also going to want to take that and apply it to their own builds. So
Mm.
not only do you get a feel for how we build something, but also you're taking tips in terms of how we're doing it, so how you can incorporate that and you become a better builder as well. So I really like that, and having the product team is great. Having more of the engineers folks on, we want to do more of that as well. So more to come on that.
Yeah, for sure. And I just think, again, it's cool for me to see this evolve because Vic reminded me of kind of, that moment where we were doing product feedback and, just getting to meet her and then getting the whole experience about, like meeting the team and then this evolution and where this thing is going, right? And just thinking about like being at home, now you're here in SF, seeing the product evolve, like the studio, the whole thing. Like it's just kind of like you see this journey. And I think bringing more people along this journey, I think like, I don't know, it's just it's a cool thing. I don't think enough companies do that type of thing. So it's like we talk about, Replit empowering the team and kind of trusting. And so like there's this whole thing that's brewing that I don't know. It's just super cool to see. And I think you said it, Manny, like in a couple years, lots of other companies will be looking and trying to mimic this type of thing. But like, again, we're on the front edge, I think, of blending this like technical media content builder story thing. So
Yeah, not only giving you access to amazing tools, but also like giving you access to the folks behind the tools and how they're thinking about it and incorporating that into your own builds. Yeah, just looking to leverage more of that. And also, we have some amazing people at Replit. Whenever I head the headquarters and I just like grab somebody randomly at lunchtime, I'm like, oh my gosh! Like every time I'm like, I got to get you on the show. I got to get you on the show, and that's everybody at Replit. I think we've only scratched the surface in terms of folks that we've introduced to the community. And so there's like, yeah, so many more people that we want to introduce you to.
speaking of, should we bring in our next guest who is prepped and I think ready? I think if we cut to the scene. Oh,
Hey,
hey.
Alex.
Hello, everyone.
Let's do this. Maybe. All right. Yeah.
Good to
yeah,
see
yeah,
you.
Yeah.
I think Alex holds the record for most consecutive appearances on our live stream. There was a stretch there where we launched the security agent, the new SEO agent, the new growth agent, and Alex was like on the show like 3 weeks in a row. So people have been asking for you, Alex. We had to bring you back.
Yeah, glad to be back. Feels great to be here.
Awesome. So big launch, big update this week on us making deployments much cheaper. So again, a little bit of context here. So the nice thing about Replit is that you both build and deploy all in one place. If you're starting your vibe coding journey elsewhere, typically what you're doing is you're vibe coding your application. And then when you think that's ready, then you have to port that over to some hosting service. And that can be a real pain. So that's a nice thing about Replit. You can do both here. And now with this new update, we're making it even cheaper for you to deploy those applications. So maybe Alex, talk to us a little bit about like the different types of deployments that folks are using on Replit, and then talk to us about this price cut and what people can expect, and maybe any other details that you think are worth noting.
Yeah, so much to say here. what I would say overall, right? I talked a little bit about this a month ago, and I was talking about security. And by the way, I'm a product manager on the team. I work on a lot of the platform stuff, so I think about this a ton. Is how can we make the best tools that developers or engineers what they would use when they'd build their apps available to anyone who's building on Replit, while making those available and accessible and a little bit easier to manage. So it's like this combination of the best technology and sort of presenting it in a way that's easier for you to use, and at the same time being able to go under the covers and unlock the full power of that technology when it's needed. So we think about that a ton, and in general, right? Like Manny started to cover why it's great to be able to both build and host in one place. But if I'm just talking a little bit about the future, and then I'll get to the question of the different ways of hosting, that I think is really exciting is in using Agent while you build. You've all experienced this. Like Agent has context, has memory, it understands what you're building, and it can sort of tune what it's doing to its general knowledge of what you've done already. But having that for production too, like we're starting to hook these things together. So when something's wrong in production, you can ask Agent about, hey, what's happening out in the world? What are my users seeing? And it's going to have more and more context as to what's going on. And that's like pretty if we talk about the future, like a lot of unlocks come from this like feedback loop of building in the preview world, but also agent being able to iterate based on what it's seeing out in the wild.
Can I just add to that? Because I just got a recent alert, and this is new, I think, to your point, Alex, that I really liked. I got an alert telling me that some of my models that were working through the AI integration service within Replit were going to be deprecated. Some of the some OpenAI models I was using before that OpenAI is no longer to support, and I got an alert on those, like for those models in a specific apps, and like a prompt to automatically fix it. So to your point, Alex, like there's a lot of work that has to happen post you deploying something, and being able to have all of that in one place is super helpful, because alternatively what would happen is you'd have to like rerun it in Replit and then like port that over to wherever it is that you're hosting it, and that's just friction and time. And also Replit might not have that context in that deployed app to really surface those suggestions for you in a nice way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think back to like the different ways you can publish apps, and this might be good to show in the product, like where you can find these. But there's really two sort of like primary ways. By far, the most common is this auto scale version, and what that means is Replit will scale up and down the size of your app based on the demand that needs to be met. So if you have a lot of users who are visiting, let's say around lunchtime, well, behind the scenes, the infrastructure will scale up to meet that demand, and say if at night there's no one who needs to use it, well, it'll scale down. And that mode is called auto scale. Behind the scenes, we by default will power this by Google Cloud. So again, using sort of some of these leading technologies in a specific product that's called Google Cloud Run. If you're interested in sort of some of the sauce of what happens in the background when some of these things are spun up. So yeah, Manny here, as he's sort of setting this up, if you scroll down to the adjust settings section, by default, we're always going to have your app run on auto scale. But this is something that you can tweak. You can tweak a lot of things. You can tweak whether, and I think the two main ones I'd want to call out here are auto scale or reserve VM. A reserve VM basically provisions you a box that your app will run on. Your app is always online. So this is a little bit more of an advanced use case, and it uses a different Google Cloud product under the hood. But in addition, actually, maybe I'll stop here. There's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, and I think for me, the way I've thought about this is if my service has to be always on, then I will go for the reserved VM. So like if I have an API service that my app needs to provide, then I don't want the auto scale thing to slow things down. So I'll go for the reserved VM. The downside to this is that you're always going to get charged a fixed fee for this being up, and then it won't scale based on usage. Whereas auto scale, downside here is that it may take a little bit while to warm up, but it will scale to the usage that is appropriate that's coming into your app.
Yep, exactly. And I think something to share, in terms of like, we're here talking about cutting prices in terms of our hosting fees and cloud. One area where you're going to have the most gains is in auto scale and the actual compute allocation. So in there, and we'll be able to jump to the price changes later, but we actually cut the price of auto scale by 80%. So if you have an app that's scaling up and down a lot and accommodating a lot of traffic, this is, probably the marquee place where you're going to see like big savings.
This is amazing. I feel like this should have been our headline here. Most people on Replit are using auto scale. So most people are going to get an 80% haircut on this, which is huge. It's a big cut.
Yep. Yeah. And we're really excited about it. I think like at Replit, the overall story, and Amjad, our CEO, commented on this online, is the company's a lot bigger, and we have more economies of scale, and we think about how can we, pass off those savings to our customers.
Amazing.
Yeah, and I think here's the quote from Amjad. We brought this up earlier, but yeah, autoscale deployments, typically the most expensive of scaled apps, down 80%, showing the metrics on screen here that just kind of show the actual cost compute units, which Manny has up on screen as well here. So yeah, it's a significant cost savings if this is how you're deploying software. And I don't know, I think it becomes like, again, it's like a bull signal, come build on Replit, right?
Yep, exactly.
Can you talk a little bit about these other, I guess, line items here? So I get computes, or maybe we can talk a little bit about like how I would go about determining if I need to at all, like the different CPU options and different RAM options. Like, is that something that agent is automatically suggesting for me, or is this something that I should look at toggling or modifying? And if so, like what kind of questions would I be asking myself in terms of how to configure this?
Yeah. This is where we're entering some of the advanced use cases, but this is a good example of some of what I was saying before. We try and simplify, but under the hood you have all the control. So when you configure auto scale, there's sort of two different ways in which you can have more compute, so resources to sort of back your app. One is, you spin up more machines. That's what auto scale can do automatically. But the other thing you can pick is how big each machine is. And this is, what you can see here. You can pick both the compute amount of compute that's allocated and the amount of RAM for memory that's allocated. You have full control over those. Now, to your question, when you want to touch these things, I think if you've built a really complex app that is doing a lot of like, number crunching or, keeping a lot of data in memory at once, that's looking to sort of feed into some interface for that's then shown in a UI. Here's where you might want to look at this. There's actually a place in the tools pane called the monitoring tab that has some of the tells like kind of already in here. So here you're looking at publishing. You're going to want to pick from the sidebar on the left here that's currently collapsed. Yeah, that one.
I'm trying to move this over. There we go.
Exactly, yeah.
And then what am I looking for here?
The
Monitoring?
monitoring one, yeah. So here, if you're published, you can look for a published app and you scroll to the bottom, what you're going to see is some infrastructure metrics. So you're going to see, resource use, memory use. This is like kind of the place today to see in the product, like how's that looking like? What your users will see if your machines are starting to run out of compute and memory is like things slowing down. Yeah, so here you'd want to scroll to the bottom, all the way down the bottom. Yeah, there's this infrastructure monitoring section. So yeah, the vast majority of apps is going to look somewhat like this, unless you're doing like some really, really big stuff under the hood. The amount of CPU and memory that's going to be used is going to be a little bit on the smaller side, and this means everything's healthy. But when you see these starting to spike up, it might not mean that, oh, I have tons of users. It might just mean that like this one user is doing really, really kind of big work. And then you're going to want to up the size of the machine. But this is really in the advanced use case section. And what I'll say is like everything I just showed, going to this monitoring page, like you have to kind of know to do that. So for me, when I think about the product in the future, and you sort of hinted at this, like we do want to make it so agent has full access to be able to like do this troubleshooting for you. So where we want to land, even in the next, couple, weeks, months, if I'm to speak like briefly of the roadmap, is you can go in and say, hey, my users are seeing the page being slow, and agent's going to look at logs. It's going to tell you, okay, logs look good. It's going to look at the database. Say, okay, database looks good. And then it's going to look at some of these infrastructure metrics. It's going to be, oh, I see what's happening. There's no more disk space. There's, memory use is high. Well, here's what I recommend you do. You should go and update the size of the machines. So that's going to be like more the flow to expect as we're moving forward, and is one of the reasons why, building and hosting on Replit is going to really kind of make the responsibility of operating software simpler for you all.
Yeah, I'll ask the same question I kind of asked the Zade and Vic who are here. How do you approach thinking about this and kind of reducing the complexity of thinking about this type of deployment, that type of infrastructure, this type of compute? You're talking about like that's an advanced user thing, but like lots of folks are interacting with this and thinking about like, what do I need, right? Like one of the biggest things, not biggest things, but very recently in the Discord, somebody was asking about like the difference between these deployment types and trying to understand why. And they were trying to run like a cron job, and they were like looking at scheduled deployments, and they're like, but it sounds like this, but it's not, it needs this. And so there's like, like there's these technical pieces of like, what do I actually need? How do you think about that as somebody designing this type of experience? Like, what's the first place you go? Because I think a lot of times it's easy to overcomplicate. It's easy to just say like, here's all the knobs and controls, because you want to give the user access to everything, but maybe they don't need all the knobs and controls. And so you have to decide, what do you shield? What do you put out there? So how do you kind of approach that? What's your thought process when you're doing that type of, analysis or project design?
Yeah, a few things here. Like, I think there's like kind of three levels. Like one is, and this is where I think like in the past, like months and year, like we spent a lot of time is like, how do we make it so like auto scale is as good as possible and meets your needs like almost all the time? So like, you don't have to like worry about, oh, when do I set a reserve VM? When do I set auto scale? Like, how can we make that product offering really be great? The next is what I've sort of been hinting at for a while is like, hey, we have all these information in this UI, like these graphs you can go look at, but agents are great at reading these things and giving you advice on how to tune things to be better. And agents can help you navigate that complexity. So I think that's an area that a second that we're excited about. But the third, and if I'm talking about the future, is like these different options like reserve VM, auto scale. It being like a little bit tough to spin up a cron job at the same time as having an app. Like if you've been using Replit for a while, that there's like some limitations within a project of like the number of things you can put into there. And the team is thinking about how can we, just from a platform infrastructure side, make it so projects and, a Replit project can be more flexible. And if, you think of like a future in software engineering, you have a kind of this concept of like a monolithic app, like tons of things exist in a project and a service. While being able to extend the concept of a Replit project to have more things in it, which can all be orchestrated by the agent. So you're not having to think of like, oh, this needs to live here, this needs to live there. These things need to be published in this order. Like that's not the type of experience we want to offer. And customers who build some like businesses on Replit, a lot of them end up running into some of these like trade-offs that on the Replit side that we'd like ideally to not happen.
Alex, we talked about auto scale VMs. I think it's worthwhile also covering app storage because that's a separate line item as well. And my understanding here is like if you have files or videos that are going to be used by your users, that's where this is going to come in. So if you have a bunch of media that's playing, this is going to go up, and we discounted that as well. But any other context here in terms of how people should be thinking about app storage?
Yeah, I think that's right. App storage is something like when you're like you want images to be stored and then loaded. For example, I was building a mobile app last week where you can scan and upload photos and like have them then like shown to you later in a collection. App storage is what you're going to want to use for this. Under the hood, this uses like a object storage in Google Cloud, so it maps to sort of the native type of technology that's really good for storing files rather than just storing rows of data. So that's what this looks at. And yeah, here as well, some savings to cover. I actually don't know though. I'd have to get back with like what counts as a basic versus an advanced operation. So as I'm looking through this, I have to get back to you all on that one.
No worries. And the nice thing about this now, we have a new billing view for all of your projects. So you can go in and see like, auto scale compute units, how many you're using, the requests, the data storage. And then you might want to look at that and then might want to think about ways to optimize this. Cause this is one of the mistakes that I've made in the past where I have the wrong format in the media files and that's eating up my app, my data storage. And so if I go back and I maybe scale those down a little bit or change the format on that, I can get some savings on that front as well.
Yeah, and maybe something that'd be useful to do is just start from auto scale, and we can talk through what each of the line items mean. I think that might be helpful.
Yeah.
So far, everything we've been talking about in terms of like selecting the machine size and scaling up and down to multiple machines, all that is just covered under this compute units. Basically, compute units is the way that a cloud provider thinks of the amount, both in terms of number and size of machines that is allocated to your project. When there's auto scaling, there's also like a function often of needing to warm up new machines. Say, hey, you're suddenly receiving a lot of requests at once, so we need to spin up a new machine. So for them, requests is often a function that matters, which is why you see sort of a concept of number of requests being here. There's also a base fee. That starts at $1 a month to sort of to operate the service on our end.
And this, charge.
Exactly. And this is, kind of to go back to the example we were talking about reserve VMs earlier, like that starts at 20 because, you have a box that's always on for you all the time. Yeah. So just kind of explaining some of how those differ.
Mm-hmm. And then how about things like scheduled compute units? And
Yes.
how about data transfer?
Yeah, so these scheduled compute units in particular is going to be a little bit less common. That's when you set back in the publishing page the type of deployment to scheduled. And this is something that you'll do typically if you're trying to have like a workflow run. So say like every 6 hours, I want you to read my email, have AI summarize it, and then send me a report of what's happened recently. That's not an app. It's actually like a type of scheduled like work.
Gotcha.
That
Like
that is
almost like an
possible to do.
automation or a cron job.
Can
Like,
we maybe define, because there was actually like maybe we just plug in here just for a second, because we think we should differentiate the cron job versus that scheduled deployment, because a cron job is something that's running inside of another application, right? So like the cron job is something where like you need to have a reserved VM running so that your app can be running in the background and do everything that your application needs to do, and then also run these cron jobs in the background at whatever preset time. So maybe at midnight, you wanted to go scrape new data, bring new things in, and ingest that and somehow put it into an application that has other users, has other database, has other tables, etc. And that's a whole seamless experience. A scheduled deployment is less so you're worried about the application running in the background full time, and you just want this thing to turn on, do its work, spit the stuff somewhere, and then it's basically off again, right? And then auto scale, oftentimes people who are trying to run scheduled or cron jobs get into trouble because their server will shut down and they don't realize like, hey, at midnight, nobody's using my app. And so the app shut down. And so the cron job won't run. And so there's kind of these different types of things. I know it's a little technical, but some folks in the community just asked us, and we just, talked about scheduled deployment versus cron. And so like, I thought maybe we could let's take a minute and help the audience understand like nuance between the cron job specifically and the scheduled deployment.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for clarifying that. And yeah, I don't see chat today, but if I imagine if I did, just to take like a quick context switch as well, there'd be questions about agent costs, right? Am I correct that that's come up potentially a little bit? We've talked about cloud hosting and that prices being cut and our philosophies behind that. Nothing to share today with regards to agent costs, but with this launch, you can imagine we're talking about cost and Replit. This is something you all face all the time. It's something that you're thinking about. So it's worth just like at least covering on the show briefly. I think there's like kind of two nuggets I would share. One is, I was thinking what I could bring here today is that internally, every week, what we do across the whole company is we actually think of and we show and we track metrics for the cost of a run. So across all of our different modes. And why we do that is because like the way we think about the product and making people successful is like that number going down is great for everyone. We want across power, across economy, across light, us to make it so, regardless of sort of where you're at in terms of the amount of money that you're able to spend to run agent, that it's meeting your needs and we're making that available to people. So this is something that's shown to the whole company, regardless of what you work on every week. And then of course, for the folks who are working on that, it's something that they're thinking about day in, day out. The other thing I would say is our CEO, Amjad, posted a little bit about this on X earlier this week. So I can probably, comment on it. Is just that there are updates soon coming in terms of model choice. So, right now there's, I'm going to sort of like leave that, up for with some ambiguity, but that's the words that were posted online. Today, there's a light mode, an economy mode, and a power mode. And there could be more that we can do in terms of model choice that would potentially help on this front. So this is something that we're thinking about too. Just, to come on the show talking about cloud pricing, I think it's good to we'll segment on this.
And also, if I could just add a little bit additional to that, like not only model choice, but also giving you recommended paths or like having agent guide you through some of that as well. So the best of both worlds, right? So if you want to choose your own model, maybe, and then like getting some guidance from agent in terms of what you're building with the context of your project to also like just give you a recommended path.
Yeah. So more coming soon, but I'm sure someone from the team will be on the show about this in not too long.
Yeah. I mean, I think, Alex, that's a great point. Like when I look at my cost for a particular project, I'm looking at three things now. I don't know if I should be looking at, but like the agent spend, like how much it cost me to build that prototype, make adjustments, the credits, Then it's deployment as well. Like how much does it cost me to host it, then to manage the users, and then more and more now I'm monitoring the AI integrations cost as being passed through from the model providers into my app. So just the three buckets that I look at when I'm looking at the overall spend on a particular project.
Yeah, actually, since you mentioned it, like something I sometimes see folks asking about, there is no markup on Replit side for using the out of the box AI integration. So from my angle, you're more than welcome to put in your own key. I'm totally fine with that. There's plenty of reasons why you might want to do that. But if you're just looking to get something up, going in quickly, yeah, there's no markup on the Replit side.
No, that's amazing. It's all convenience. Yeah, whenever I can, I will use the AI integrations because it's so much faster, so much neater. And also I like having Replit agent guide me towards which one of those models I should be using. Like if you look at OpenAI's list or Anthropic's list, or even Open Router has like 500 models you can choose from. I haven't been up to date on all those models, the latest ones, which ones to use for image generation, which one to use for text, for code generation. I just have agent pick the right model for me and integrate it and just pass on the bill. So it's 100% convenience. I also like how we're doing that with things like the authentication, the clerk integration, where we're not charging folks for that. That's crazy. Not enough people know that or take advantage of that. There's no charge for the auth that we do, which is top tier, best, so good, and that we pass stuff like that on to you for free.
Yeah. Thanks for saying that. I have nothing to add. I think you put that pretty well.
It's like, yes, go use it. Yeah, I think all of you should be using that. So it's so good. Very neat. Any other questions that we're seeing here from the chat that we want to get to, Rymar?
Not anything crazy. People are super excited. Somebody did ask, can I schedule backups in Replit, which automatically happens with checkpoints, and go look at the version control episode we just did if you want to understand how backups, quote unquote, work in Replit and how you can kind of time travel through the app. Let's see. People are asking about the traffic the app can handle. At what point do I need to move off Replit? That's not really an issue, I think, here. You know, like this stuff can
There's
scale.
no ceiling.
Yeah, there's no real ceiling on some of this stuff. Do people need to think about that? Is that like a concern for folks?
Yeah, I guess what I would say to that is like from the technology we use under the hood, yeah, we can scale up to literally anything. Now that said, right, there's still going to be issues that you run into as you scale. And that's just a normal part of building an app, right? The requirements in the code of supporting an app with 100 people, 1,000 people, 100,000 people are not the same. So as you move up, you also don't want agent to build you an app that supports 100,000 people in the first go, because you're often just looking to prove out an idea, get something to market. So the needs sort of change. So yeah, I just wanted to like clarify, right? Like behind the scenes, we can support anything, but as you grow, you're still gonna kind of want to nudge agent, be like, hey, this user is running into this problem. Let's go troubleshoot this together, and it'll make changes and updates. And this goes back to some of the benefits of building and hosting in one place, that you don't have to like do all the figuring out of why this issue is happening. Agent has access to literally all the information to first root cause, propose a fix, and then after the thing is published, go verify that the solution that was put in is actually a correct one that's having the impact that's desired.
Yeah, and I think this is something that folks have to learn a little bit, especially in the process we talk about, making the build process easy, but you still kind of need to know some stuff about exactly what you just said, is that sometimes in those early phases, you're just going to build something scrappy. You're just going to get it out there, and it's going to be your mom and your auntie using the app, and like nobody cares that like it's not fast and not performant. But once that breaks out and goes viral because Amjad retweeted it, and now, it's like 100 people using it or whatever, you broke out, and maybe there's a different use there, or maybe you finally found a little bit of product market fit in your niche and there's 1,000 users there. It's going to be a little bit different thought process, like you said, about what the agent does, the types of API calls it makes, the optimizations you can find on the back end that like hosting is not, it's going to help, but it's not going to fix those problems. And I think maybe that warrants a deep dive. We kind of did this. If you go back and look at the Buildathon hub, with the build platform, where we built this platform. It worked great for one Buildathon, but then the next Buildathon came, and the 10-year Buildathon sent so much traffic that we had a moment too where like we had to call engineering and say, hey, boost up the servers on the back end, and then we had to get in and troubleshoot. And I think walking through people on some of that stuff might be helpful. So if you're in the audience watching and those are concerns you have, but But yeah, I think it's one of those things again where it's like, yes, we're trying to shield folks from complexity and from like having to have this technical skill set, but there is still this advantage that comes with understanding as much of this as you can. So interesting how again you balance that. Or Manny, if you have thoughts on that as we try to take these really complex things and whittle them down into easily digestible solutions.
Yeah, no, I think you framed it right, Reimar. There's the compute and the infrastructure that your app has available to it, and then there's also the code that could be optimized for different levels of users depending on what the app is doing. So if you have a bunch of actions that are being triggered, a lot of interactions, you're pulling a lot of media, that I can see breaking down. That's more of a code optimization problem than more of a hardware problem. But I also like how one of our LinkedIn users said they really love they said they love the pricing changes to the pro plan. And they love the analytics part. And they also are just using agent to chat through the optimization. So that's again, the nice thing is like, I don't think you have to figure this out on your own, or at least, maybe as a jumping off point, you can always start with agent and say like, hey, like I'm noticing these things are slowing down. What is it? Is it something in the code base that needs to be optimized? Do I need to streamline something? Are there like different actions that are kind of bumping into one another? Or is it that I need to set up more hardware, more infrastructure to support that application? Just ask agent, right? I feel like 80% of our questions just come back to just ask agent.
Yeah, just ask agent and then give agent more access to info that's happening on the production.
Do you guys remember the like, let me Google that for you links that you would send people when like they'd ask something that was like just easily Googleable?
Right.
We need like a just ask the agent, or like we need the Replit version of that where when people ask questions, it's like, bro, just go ask the agent. Like it's right there.
Yeah.
Hey man, can I integrate into this API? Blah, blah, blah. Like what you just told me, just copy paste that and put it into agent.
Yeah. While we're doing a little segment on this, like a good trick in the meantime is like when agent is struggling or there's something that's like really tough for it to go find out, is go tell it, hey, okay, go add logs, go add some basic monitoring, and go write that information somewhere. That can sort of like make it sort of zoom out if it's like kind of stuck going down rabbit holes, and evaluate a different approach with more information.
Yeah, and I think that's what I was getting to a little bit at the last point I was trying to make is like learning how to troubleshoot is an art in and of itself, right? Like asking the agent to log the process so that you can find out where it's failing, because sometimes it just doesn't have visibility, right, into what's going on. But then asking to know about a log is like a whole nother level. And so you don't necessarily have to know like all the things you want to log, but you kind of have to know, hey, agent, log this stuff for me, and it will do that, right? It does that kind of automatically. But if you're troubleshooting and you find something along the process that like is not working right, instead of saying, hey, this is broken over and over and over, you can ask the agent to say, hey, can you log this process at every step in the, chain of the workflow or whatever? And it will kind of, log those things in the console. And then next time it goes, you can ask it to check the production logs, or you can specifically say, hey, check the logs and understand where this is failing. And again, the agent's getting really good at doing some of that, but there are often things when you get into a little bit more complex stuff where you kind of, you want to guide it a little bit. So I think probably we should do an episode just on troubleshooting. We did that during the database where like I tried to purposefully break the agent database, and it was very difficult. Like when I was prepping for that stream, like I remember before, like you could just get it to do stuff, and like maybe early on in the agent you could easily break it. But like when we were prepping to like try to demo how to break the database and then revert it, the agent was like, "Nope, we're not going to do that." So it's getting more and more difficult to kind of do some of these things. But again, having that knowledge and understanding when you find yourself in like a bit of a pickle with the agent, like how do I get out of here, right? And that's part of the development cycle. That's like if you're on the technical side and you're writing code, troubleshooting is still also difficult, right? It's kind of the same thing. That's the challenge. Is like you've got to unlock this puzzle. So technical, non-technical, you still have to figure out like where's the logic breaking down, where's this flow like broken, where can it be optimized, etc. And we talk about speaking the language of the agent or the technical language you need to kind of do that stuff effectively. So
yeah, and if I'm to speak a bit to like the future, right? Like a month ago, I came to talk about like these domain specific scanners. It is like a very similar problem. It's like, how do I know to ask about security? Like, how do I need to know to remember that? How do I need, like, what exactly do I need to prompt relative to SEO to get the right results? I sort of see like scaling up an app as or like performance and checks as like a domain itself. So potentially, you know, maybe I'll be back on the show at some point to talk about a performance scanner. TBD.
And just know, if you're at that point where you're having trouble managing all of your users, that's a good problem, folks. That's where you want to get to, right?
Yeah. What did Brett saying here? Troubleshooting is much more fun when stuff breaks live. This is only true when you have no users. because you feel the pressure and you're like, oh my God, the site's up, and you're like trying to figure it out. But when you have like people running their business, or you have credit cards on file, and you have like, and then you start getting support requests and people freaking out, like this is not that's not when you want to troubleshoot. But I get it. I get that adrenaline of like being, you know, in the moment and trying to like troubleshoot this stuff on the fly, and maybe having a little bit of that experience. But it's a different at scale. When you have like 100 users and maybe there's nobody on your app in the moment when you broke something because you're just pushing right to production, versus this is a critical part of someone's like business infrastructure or like daily operations, and now it's down. So yeah, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. Troubleshooting live.
I 100% agree. That's why we have a preview environment and a production environment.
That's right. That's right. Very neat. Alex, anything else to mention before we get you out of here?
Yeah, no, nothing more to share. Glad we could make sort of these cost changes for all of you and keep the feedback coming.
Yeah, right on. Thanks for coming and sharing your knowledge. Yeah.
Say thank you to Alex for the 50% haircut on your deployments. Thank you so much, Alex. Looking forward to having you come back when we do another 50% cut.
Take care.
All right, see ya.
All right.
Woo, we're covering a lot of ground today, dude.
Getting the goods, yeah. And you could, just head on out however you feel, right? We gotta figure out the whole flow of this thing. But I think this was cool having guests in studio, popping through different discussion points here. Let us know in the comments. Maybe we can go back and riff. I think there was maybe some questions and stuff earlier on that we pinned that we can go back and chat about. So, but yeah, how you feeling, Manny? What's going through your head right now?
I like it, dude. You've done such a great job in setting up that studio. And this is our first time really testing it, right? With multiple guests. And we're thinking about like, oh, what do we need to monitor? Like, how do we bring people on? But no, it's so great to have that to, again, bring more folks from Replit to you, to the community, to drop alpha, to drop their expertise, to give you access to them, to get to know them and get to a sense of the folks that are building these great tools for you, and have them every so often drop a little bit of alpha, drop some stuff that maybe they shouldn't be talking about just yet, but because you're on the stream.
That's our job. Right? You and I, like, listen, we're going to get them, and our job is to represent you all as a community, so we're going to push. If they say something, that's on them. They know what they're not supposed to talk about. Our job is to be like, give us the alpha, bring the heat. So we're gonna push more and more to the way of Replit TV. Love the new setup and format. This is super cool to me, and again, we're building this. This is a tool. Like, if you look at the screen that I'm looking at right now, this is running in an overlay, but it has the ability to pull, these lower thirds. And again, like, pushing these graphics. And then we shared a little bit about that in the Discord and the build, even the little timestamp at the top and the branding and the, this whole, like, we can turn this off if we want. We could turn this on if we want. We can, just have different. So we're talking about dog fooding. We're building things that we need with Replit, and in the process showing and sharing. And this is how the tool gets better, because everyone inside of Replit is basically doing this. They're dog fooding, they're building, they're tinkering with the tool, they're building things that they need. And so, it becomes this like really cool feedback loop at a scale that we can't really imagine. And if you saw that self-driving company, was that the exact title? No, the Amjad's blog post the other day.
Oh, right, yeah.
About the self-driving company.
Right.
And just, what we're seeing here at the forefront. Yeah. Ron was fun tinkering with the setup for all this self-driving Waymo. Yeah. We do have fun with this. Like, it's like we're getting to talk about the coolest stuff on the internet. We're getting to meet some of the smartest people on the planet. We're getting to like act as this translation layer between you all and this really cool product that's building in this, new creative system. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of pressure because there's a lot of work that goes into building and kind of preparing and putting these things together. But yeah, I don't know. It's to me, it's a little surreal. My mom is visiting in town right now, and we were talking about that yesterday. I was like, it doesn't feel real. So anyway, I don't know how you think about that, Manny, but doing this whole thing and being along for this ride, it feels like it's humbling and exciting all at once. And so our job is to translate some of that to you all, to bring you along for the journey, to try to like build and grow as much as possible, and just kind of turn this into like a really cool feedback loop. But that also becomes entertainment. Would you say edutainment the other day, Manny?
Edutainment. Yes, we want you to come here, learn a lot of great stuff, but also have some fun, right? And so all these stuff that you're seeing is going towards that end, just trying to package this up and have this be like the most valuable, interesting hour or 2 hours of your Friday. I also think, remember, we're like, I think a lot of the stuff that we're doing, we do it before we feel ready. We do it before it's perfect. Like you're seeing us, like we tested some of this out. Was it, I forget, was it on the office hours or was it on no, it was on your live stream, wasn't it? Like on the Tuesday deep dive. And our, like, it wasn't perfect. It was a little jittery, made some improvements. Now, like it's looking better now. We're also talking about like the different like segments. How do we bring on different assets, like the videos, the graphics, streamline all of that, talk to marketing, like what can they give us to make this all run smoother. So we continue to push. Like I think I told Rymar that we were going to have 3 guests in the studio like maybe like 2 days ago, and he had to set everything up from scratch. He's like, Manny, the studio is not set up for that, but let me try to do it. And then bam, like just like makes it happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And for anybody watching, this is just a trial run. You know, like this is not the studio. We are building a studio. This is the place we're testing what we need for the studio,
right?
And prepping for like the actual real show. So you all are watching, you know, like the was it the sausages made? I think I saw a lower third a second ago. You know, watching how the sausage is made. And so yeah, we're literally just building right alongside you. It's at a different scale, it's at a different like pace, it's at a different, you know, kind of intensity, I think, probably. But I know some of y'all are working hard and building cool stuff. And so that's why I think, again, trying to act as this like translation layer / bridge between you all out there, what's happening in here, what's going on with the AI industry. I think that's where we're going to find this real sweet spot, you know? And to me, that's what becomes exciting. I feel like we're surfing trends here in some capacity, but also we're writing and building and creating those trends. Like we talk about, you know, like we were one of the first agentic platform, if not the first agentic software development platform before vibe coding was like a whole thing. And now we're moving past this vibe code thing into agentic engineering or whatever this next layer of this thing becomes. And so, yeah, to me, we're just kind of watching the future take shape right in front of us, and we have front row seats to this. And so it's like, I don't know, how do you even quantify or think about that? I don't know.
And also, I think we're going through what a lot of folks are going through now or will be soon, which is just the transformation of different roles and functionalities. Like think about how like the stuff that we're doing, Rymar, versus like what you would have asked of a typical community person 2 years ago. Like we're doing media, we're doing the technical deep dives, we're doing vibe coding, we're talking to the users, setting up discords, and like I feel like that is like the merging of different roles. Like we're almost like a mix of marketing, community, customer relations, like all in media, all rolled into one. And so I think like as you start seeing more tools be more readily available, many of your roles are going to change and shift. And I think we're just trying to show you like how do you adapt to that, and how do you like make that your own and make it unique and make it different.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you 100. People saying, is this going to be a 24/7 RNN? I don't know. Stay
Replit
tuned.
News Network.
Yeah, I think we showed that the other day. We're not going to test it today, but we are playing with like program content and different types of things. If you've been in Discord, we've shown teases of that. I think what you're saying is right though, Manny. Like, I remember when I was telling folks that I was going to like go work in San Francisco, and we used to do these like little family dinners Sundays, just a friends dinner type thing. And they were like, well, what are you going to do? And I was like, oh, we're going to do community. And they're like everyone kind of looked at me like, because I had been saying, oh, we're going to be AI and we're on the front edge of the future. And then you say community and people are like, what? Do you like, are you going to manage a apartment rental? Like, what do you like? Francisco makes that joke every once in a while. But I think, you know, like folks don't really see community as like this, like a critical operation in the business yet. I think they will soon, right? Like I've kind of staked my career over the last handful of years on like this trajectory. And so it's cool to meet a company and to be a part of a company that understands that understands the ecosystem, the community, the thing that's building around it is not just the product, it's the people that make that product special and the impact that product has in like the real world. And so, yeah, I think again, we don't need to say it again. We're pioneering lots of new things here, and it's not just software.
There's two things that I'm particularly excited about as I'm reflecting on some of these past shows, Remar. Number one is the ability to spotlight certain folks in our community, share them with other folks, and have them connect with one another. Like Nadia and Noni, they met through the Build-a-thon. Everybody knows Ruth now because of her show. You're following some folks that have come on the show. I'm really excited about that. And then the other thing that I'm excited about as we're building out this new media arm is the ability to act as a launch pad for our builders as well. I think this came up in the X Spaces yesterday, where like Replit as a launch pad. So not only do you come to Replit, you vibe code your application, you deploy it here, great, that's the easy part. But now how do we help you get your first 100 users? And do we have that infrastructure in place to do that? So can we introduce you in our Discord? Can we have you in one of these segments? Can we spotlight your application? Can we get you the Replit bump and really like get you going on your way? And so these assets that we're building, the show, the Twitter, the X Spaces, the different channels, I feel like once we get directed in that direction, I think it's going to be like really cool for our users.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I think this is great. Love hanging out with you guys. Great to spend time with people who get it. They don't know what we know exactly. Was it best
You're with
AI
the cool
community?
kids.
Anyway, that's right. Yeah, and I think again, it's one of those things that at one point it's going to break out, and the scale is going to be crazy, and like it'll be very difficult to have this like one-on-one moment. What if there's 110 people watching still right now, 2 hours into the live stream, which is super cool to have week after week this many people that are just interested in this. But I could imagine 6 months from now it's 1,000 people or 500 people or whatever the number is, and it's going to become more and more difficult. We talk about this to kind of have these one-on-one connections. And so that's like our goal, is to figure out how do you keep that scale? How do you scale with the product? Make sure that everyone's kind of getting the best value out of this, but also that, yeah, it's approachable. Again, I think it builds trust at scale on some regular basis, that you all see that we come out here and not just brag about what we do well, but like when something goes wrong or when there's an issue, that we discuss it and we deal with it head on. And I think that goes all the way up to the leadership, Michele, Amjad, everybody who, like guides the direction of this company. I don't know how you feel when you hear them talk, or when you see them in the public eye, or when you think about the vision that they cast for the next layer of this. It's one of those things where you're like, I'll follow you in a battle wherever. Like, let's go. Like I don't know how you think about that, Manny, but like to me, I think it starts from the top, this whole thing. And it just really, seeps through the whole organization.
Yeah, after listening to one of Amjad's talk, I always crack open another Diet Coke and I'm like, let's get to work. Yeah, I'm pumped. I get excited.
What's the weirdest part about all this is walking through the office and seeing the replays like on some of the screens.
Oh, right.
And sometimes thinking about like, sometimes we're just on these streams and like I'll just start talking and then I'm like, what are you talking about? Like nobody cares about this, right? Like, so sometimes, but I think that personal, the brushing with like, these are real people and they're building real products, and here we all are building and kind of like somehow taking time out of our lives and investing our, most limited resource, which is time, hanging out together and learning and trying to like all grow together to, I don't know, something super cool about that.
And also something that I think I'm starting to appreciate just talking to folks in our community. I feel like we're also a bit of a sanctuary amongst all of this like AI talk and doomerism. I mean, we talked about this before. Like almost every new technology goes through this initial wave of skepticism and negativity. AI is no different. So I think to create a space where we allow you to talk to other folks that, can be skeptical, but also appreciate what AI can do and are showing what AI can do. I think it's a really important place to have, because otherwise what you're doing is you're just seeing all the doomerism, like AI is going to take all the jobs, AI is going to destroy the world, AI is terrible, AI destroys creativity. And then that just becomes your entire world view. But the fact that we have this community of folks that are building some amazing things, like where like the Blumson brothers are showing you how to be creative with AI. Nadia is showing you how to take your domain expertise and help teachers. And we're just showing you all these examples of how people are really leveraging this technology. I think it's really important to have this out in the world as at least a counter narrative to that prevailing AI doomerism that is out there, and it's probably going to be out there for the foreseeable future until AI just becomes normal like anything else. Like the potato. Nadia, call back to the office hours on Tuesday, like the potato.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because there are all these little like inside jokes starting to creep into like the analysis and like the little, weird pronunciations and little moment, the pineapple on pizza stuff. And but I think you're right. I think the optimistic view on what's happening here is what sets this apart. And I also don't see almost any other company doing community this way. Like, as authentically, like, I think a lot of times there's like this marketing shield that gets put on. And what's cool here is, whatever's quirky about Rymar, whatever's quirky about Manny, whatever's quirky about like the team, it's like, we're just bringing that all to the table. And, like, it's authentic, right? Like, we genuinely enjoy spending time together and doing this and putting this programming on and doing this type of thing. So I don't know. Like, I look at other community projects. I do this all the time, man. I don't know if you're like researching or if you're looking. Like, I'm always looking to see like who's doing cool things in community. And again, I just don't see this. So if you've, like, yeah, let us know who's doing it better, because we'd like to, have like a bar to shoot at. But I think in our heads, maybe you're like this too, Manny. It's like we want to set the bar. We're not interested really in like copying what other people are doing. We keep coming back to this message, like, what can we do that no one else can? Oh, that's build production grade software at scale and help people like change their status in life by opening up whatever door they want to open in front of them with this toolkit. And
I think it's all so new that it's hard to even like look at someone and benchmark against because like if I think about what we're doing, remember, like, okay, the community profiles. All right, we're doing that. These live streams, like we're doing that, the Discord stuff, the X spaces, the build-a-thons, all the things that we're like rolling into this, like, and then also we're talking about like acting as a launch pad for folks. Like I feel like that's all opening up, that's brand new, and like no one's really written that playbook. And so I think you mentioned it's like that's our opportunity to write the playbook. Like, given that we have this great community, this great interest in AI, we have this great tool, we have all these tools that are accessible to us, and we can build all these cool things. Like, what would be like the maximum impact that we can have as a team on these great people that are building in Replit? And I feel like it's all greenfield for us. Like, I feel like we have too many ideas of ways to help you all out, and so we got to like temper that and see, how do we roll that out?
yeah, trying to like bring all these, just like, again, like on the product side, there's all these potential features that can be added. But we've talked a lot about also laying the foundation early and setting some of these filters up in the right way so that as we scale, as we, kind of take this next step, that we have the right foundation to do that. Because culture can change quickly, like all of this, nothing's guaranteed. Nothing's guaranteed to be the same. We see everything changes. The industry's changing so fast. And so like, yeah, I don't know. I keep coming back to this like surreal feeling, just lots of stuff happening, but yeah, it's organic, right? It works so well. And I'm very interested to see what this evolves into, because none of us know. We have ideas. Shout out to Francisco if he's watching right now, because that's the real, kind of like organizer. We talk about like agent orchestration, but Francisco, with the guidance of the leadership and then this whole team, is really like facilitating this whole thing. So yeah, we talk about this emergent property of like what Replit's becoming. Complexity emerges at scale. Like these behaviors emerge at like inside of complexity. That's like literally what the universe is. And so like there's this whole world kind of brewing inside of here that is kind of fun to see little shoots go out, and then that becomes a product, and it becomes a feature, and then it becomes its own thing, and then it becomes a launch, and then like, I don't know, somebody uses it to make money, and you just see this like loop in this cycle, and you're like, what is that going to look like when we figure out how to do this? Because right now it's kind of chaotic in the context that like it's moving so fast and the whole industry is evolving. But like, what does that look like when all these processes, and you're watching us do it? You see the stream get evolved. You see the communications kind of evolve. Everything's kind of being shaped in real time. And I was telling Manny before the show, like, you can't practice this stuff. It's like comedy. You can like write jokes, but if you don't tell jokes in front of an audience, like, you don't know if they're going to laugh or not. And this is the same kind of thing where like you can't really do this stuff without an audience, without a space, right? Like you can't experiment with this stuff, right? And so it's one of those things that you have to kind of do live and in real time.
Yeah, two things. One, shout out to Francisco. I feel like he really set the tone when he came on to Replit in terms of elevating community to a tier one functionality and just being very adamant about that. And then after that, like just making sure that's like our operating mode at Replit. And then two, I also want to say that it goes both ways because we're so early in this, we're learning things, and the fact that we have this community that we can leverage and learn from and pick things up on, like it just helps us a lot too, because both me, we're in this too, right? We're not like we're like way ahead of anybody else. Like we're picking things up as we go and we're learning from the community. Even yesterday, like we're talking about the Replit MCP server being out in beta, and somebody in our community posted a tweet from Amadeo here saying like, "Oh, now it's in beta." I'm like, "Oh, I missed that. Thanks for letting me know." But little things like that, like our community is helping us, so it goes both ways. Like I think we're trying to take what we're getting here at Replit, pass it on to you folks, and then we're like learning from you every day and helping us kind of get smarter about these things too.
Yeah, speaking of, we'll show off a new. I literally just opened up and I saw Kelly just posted on X here.
Ooh.
Let's see if I can. Let's see. Let's get rid of this. Did it not come in? Hang on. Let me try one more time. Clip that. There we go. Nope. I grabbed the wrong. I got the wrong link.
Do you want me to share my
Oh,
screen?
X just. What's that? No, I grabbed the wrong. I gotta click. I gotta click the actual copy, but I gotta actually hit the. Here we go. What does monitoring your app look like? Yeah, there we go.
Bam.
So just showing some of the stats here. What does your monitoring your app look like? Monitoring scale. Here's mine. Should I switch back to auto scale instead of reserve VM? So just showing off some of her stats and graphs, and we're getting better at watching these things and trying to pull them into part of what we're doing here is figuring out how do we like bring all these surfaces together. Like there's all these different things that are happening. There's social. There's the product. There's Discord. There's these chat, some of you are watching on LinkedIn, some are watching on YouTube. There's all these different surfaces that are like disparate. And that's, to me, the challenge intellectually to me is like building these tools that help us like kind of hone in and harness that and have access to, again, use that in a meaningful way, right? Like build some of this stuff purpose built to connect the community, to enhance your all abilities to connect with each other, and to really add that little special sauce on everything that we're doing here.
And to also build out all the systems that have to go along with that to do it efficiently and a certain quality level. So you're seeing like the front end here in terms of what we're doing, but behind the scenes we got to track all of these shows. We got to prep our guests. We got to make sure we're giving you the right news. We're not like saying anything that is incorrect. And so like building all of that out, that back end as well, is a lot. Like also something that we're doing is to streamline things.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my favorite part. We talk about the building side of this. Like, I still just love to build in Replit. Like, I get lost sometimes just building these things and thinking about how do you actually do this stuff, So I still think, to me, that's the most fun of this is that like I made a joke the other day. It's like giving a heroin addict a poppy field to oversee.
Oh,
It's like, in my mind, because I like, I don't want to say I'm addicted, but there's for sure this like draw to build and create with this tool that I think a lot of us feel. A lot of us, for a big part of our careers or life or whatever, have been limited by the ability to create code or to write code. And so you have these ideas for what like the world should do or this thing. And then all of a sudden there's a tool that just opens that door, and no longer is this a limitation in your world. And that becomes this like holy cow moment. And that's why I think a lot of us get really sucked into the builder role. And I've been on that journey for over a decade, trying to like advance with this whole no code movement and building from WordPress to Webflow to now this AI agentic engineering thing. And I think a lot of you all share, Manny, you probably share the same thing, where it's like, now you can go build. Ruth is saying, oh, come on, we're addicted, own it. Yeah. And so there is this thing that like, can you channel that addiction into something productive? Right? Like, can you channel this obsession, this desire, this creative impulse that we all have inside of us into something more than a doom scroll moment or this other dopamine rush where it's like, and that's the goal now. right? Like that's the thing. It's like we saw first phase of technology and distribution was basically build these social networks and get really good at like making lots of noise. Can we make this pivot and use these tools and these same emotional triggers and these same kind of like basic primitive impulse to build value, to build ecosystems, to build a, you know, a whole economy inside of this thing? And that's where, you know, I think it becomes really interesting if you start thinking about where all this, you know, heads.
I think we have a new segment here, Replaholics Anonymous. So we're gonna start. Yeah, we're gonna have a new segment where if you're addicted to Replit, you come on and you do a spiel like, "Hey, my name is Manny. I've been addicted to Replit for 2 years."
Yeah, that's right, Ruth. Let's get addicted to monetizing our apps next. Exactly.
Yeah, I think people are addicted to the output, the creativity, right? Like that's what I like. Where I get the biggest pop when like that initial prototype hits, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I was able to build that. Or when I deploy something, or when I get a new user, like just getting things out in the world. That's like bringing ideas to life is what I'm addicted to, and Replit just makes that happen.
Yeah, I'm not sure how the brand team would feel about merch saying I'm a
Right.
Replaholic. That's gonna have to come from the. That's gonna have to come from the community. Y'all are gonna have to take care of that one.
Not on the official menu, not on the official store.
Yeah, that'd be a great community section. I think it's funny. I was hanging out with somebody the other day, and I was like, let's share stories about the most tech bro thing you've done in SF yet, because they were like new, and we were just sharing some of that, so we can have some community confession cams type thing.
Yeah,
exactly. Pay as time. Yeah.
Well, that's what we're trying to help out with. That's what we keep telling, like, focusing on the marketing, distribution, monetization. Yeah, I think that, you know, it should be a hobby, but then it should be a hobby that you can monetize. And there's a number of folks in our community that are doing that, from Aaron, from Nadia. That's why I think it's so important for folks like Nadia to share their wins, their monetization wins, to kind of get people that are just building and putting together like nice creative projects, weekend projects, and to really start taking it seriously as a serious source of revenue.
Well, and you've even heard Amjad was talking about that in, I don't remember who he was interviewing with, but talking about, you know, the chronically online thing, or this idea of ADHD and some of these things that like folks look at as maybe a hindrance up until now, or it could be, you could for sure have any one of those things, or be somebody who's chronically online and, you know, like not be productive. You could for sure, you know, like use these tools and still just spend a bunch of money and never do anything with like what you're actually doing. Like, so like you can still fall into these bad habits. Let's not get lost in this idea that like this, you know, like this is all squeaky clean. But I think the point to, you know, like what has come up a couple times about like, can these being chronically online, being a little bit, not necessarily scatterbrained, but ADHD, where you're like kind of multi-focused. Well, it's kind of set up perfect for this agentic orchestration moment, or this idea where like you want to get hyper focused on like building or executing on this creative plan. And so yeah, I think there's this real balance, right, where we have to figure out, like, because I still think about this, like, how do I get outside, and how do I stay fit, and how do I like build my real world social network, and how do I make sure that all of these things are still in balance, but how do I, you know, like make sure I'm on the front edge of this thing and still building you know, with these tools and taking this to the next layer.
Mm-hmm. Epic 591, what's up, Epic? Asking if we can be his sponsor. I don't think I'd be a good sponsor here. Like, Ryan's not gonna be a good sponsor. He's gonna say, go pro and buy like the $1,000 credit pack automatically every week, every month.
Chronically online without productivity equals depression. Yes, that's it.
Right.
You got to have an outlet for this, right? And
yes.
And also, like, I could see if you just get into, you know, like it's easy to just get lost in the build mode and not go out and actually show it to anybody. So again, that's why we always encourage folks to just go out there and like, you know, share what you built, actually take these things out into the real world, figure out how you can get someone to pay you, you know, like get it outside of like the inner circle. Like the inner circle is always going to be nice to you. Everyone's going to be like, yeah, it's great. Good job, whatever, you know. You want to get feedback from people who are not emotionally connected to you. And, you know, building and sharing and tinkering in that kind of space. So yeah. Create before you consume, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I still recall like having Ruth on the show, and she had a really good line where like she just focused on getting stuff out and building stuff and getting it out into the world, and some other folks that maybe don't see the same amount of success. That's where they get stuck. They get stuck in like maybe like just consuming information, having a bunch of ideas, or maybe just building on a prototype but not getting it out in the world. So yeah, if you're going to be online, get some ideas, take some time to materialize some of those ideas and ship them.
Yeah, let's answer this question real quick. Kevin, hey, what's up? Saying my work gives me ChatGPT Enterprise, but all other restrictions don't allow me to build what I wanted. So I went to my personal ChatGPT account, but even still want to move to Replit. How easy is it to move my project and keep building? Just get that thing over to GitHub and then import the link into GitHub and you'll be no problem. I think even in OpenAI, you can ask it to start a project. I don't know if you're already in a project, if you can ask it to port that over. I'm not sure that's seamless. But I know initially you can start a project, a prompt, and then pop that over to Replit. If you already have code or you already have kind of a core project set up, the easiest way is probably just to push that with the ChatGPT integration into GitHub, grab the GitHub link and pull that into Replit, and then you're off to the races.
Yeah, Kevin, two thoughts. If it's in a chat, there is a Replit connector within ChatGPT. You can just sign into that, one click sign up, and then you can just call Replit from that chat. So it will send it over straight to Replit, all the context. So that'd be one route to go. And then if you're doing something a little bit more technical, in addition to what Reimar suggested, which is getting the code and porting over the GitHub profile, you might check out the Replit MCP that we talked about at the beginning of the show, because that's pretty agnostic and generic. So I would just grab that page, drop it into ChatGPT, and say, hey, port this over to Replit, use the new Replit MCP to do that. And the cool thing about the MCP is that, one, you sign into your accounts and you can start a project with that MCP, but then you can also modify existing Replit projects as well. So Reimar hey, I'm seeing double Reimar. Let's go.
Oh no. We're having a restream glitch, y'all.
Oh, here we go. So yeah, so like I've started doing that as well, where like I'm pushing stuff to a Replit project directly from my terminal for certain things. So check out the new Replit MCP currently in beta. All right, so see, it looks like Reimar got stuck here. All right. As we're doing, I'll answer a couple more questions here. The Replit MCP works in Cloud. Yes, it will work with Cloud Code, actually. So let me bring up. Yeah, so let me go here, and then let me just pull up that document, and we can talk about it. Replit MCP, as Reimar is getting set up. Okay, and then
doing something weird where it's still showing my old. Let's see, remove. Okay, check 1 2. Can you hear me? Okay, great.
I can hear you. I can see you. Perfect. Yeah, somebody's just asking if they can use the Replit MCP server from Claude. Yes. So like if you head over to our documentation here and you head down to this prompt here, you can just grab this, drop it in your terminal, and then you'll go into Cloud Code and you'll authorize it as an MCP, and then boom, you're all set. So pretty straightforward to do. And then here's the other documentation. So that's if you want to work through Cloud Code. I would imagine something like this would also work with Codex if you're using that. But if you're using any other platform, or if you want to build a connection to Replit agent from your custom application, we have all of the context here to do that. So I would just copy this page, drop it into your favorite agent, and set that up, and you'll get that wiring up to the Replit MCP.
I'm actually very eager to tinker with that. I have an idea for what I want to do with that MCP. So I'm not going to share because somebody might beat me to it.
Ooh.
But yeah, I got a little idea for what I want to tinker with on that. That might be fun.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, there's a lot of potential. It's a lot of folks very interested in that MCP yesterday in the X Spaces.
Yeah, lots of stuff, man. It's so much. I think this is probably a good break point here. But as I think, as I think about a closing thought, it's just that, you know, um, there is nothing stopping anybody out there from achieving like whatever your craziest dream or goal is. And as someone who has kind of followed that path and kind of, uh, I, I would say, seen their creative skill set evolve into a place where it like, just gets you to where you would like to go. I would just say that like resilience is the biggest thing, right? Like there's costs associated, there's a learning curve, there's a whole technical thing, but there's this other piece that I think a lot of you guys have and a lot of you are showing and sharing, and that's kind of what has us all here is this idea that like you can actually pull this stuff off. And so I would just say if you're watching this and you're, like you're not a power builder yet, you're not super technical, you're not monetizing your app yet, you don't have stuff in production, like don't think this stuff isn't for you. Like you everyone has to start somewhere. And I think that's the fun part of this is seeing everyone kind of in their different starting points and, like off to the races here. So, yeah, I don't know. Keep tuning in. We'll keep teaching you. Tuesdays, we're doing the deep dives. Fridays, we're doing the showcases. Wednesdays, we're doing the office hours. We're going to step into those X spaces on a pretty regular cadence here. So pretty soon you guys will have to start like moderating your community access time because you'll need time to be productive. But yeah, we're going to keep competing for your attention and keep trying to do more and more things to like push this whole ecosystem forward. So anyway, keep tuning in. Y'all keep showing up. We'll keep doing what we can to make that experience better for everyone here. And yeah, Manny, any final thoughts as we wrap up out of here?
I just say, guys, we're so early and there's so much potential to what's happening right now. The world is changing so fast. And if you have the right mindset, if you're here and you're thinking about how to ride this wave to help you be more creative, to have the lifestyle that you want, to build the ideas that you want to bring into the world, like I think that's the right mindset. And then that's what we're going to try to bring you like week to week is this that optimism and also the tooling and the tips and the connections to folks that are going to help you do that. So I hope that's what's coming through. And I just want you all to be super excited about what's coming next and how you're going to get turbocharged and what you're going to be able to do. And yeah, just looking forward to riding that way with you because we're all here and it's super early, folks.
Yeah, we're not going to stop saying that. And maybe we're going to be early for the next 2-3 years, right? Like you could still keep being early. Like you could ride the wave, right? Like you're in front of the wave, and that's the idea of surfing. And so we have caught this wave nicely. We are standing up on the boards, and we're going to ride this curl all the way through. And yeah, let's go. First movers, exactly.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you, everybody. See you next week. Brett, thanks for coming out, dude. Great to have you here.
All right, let's do a little bit of what is it?